I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. So we are open. We profess to be open. We strive to open. And this morning, let's know that we are open. That we are open to receive all the goodness, all the wonderfulness, all the wisdom, and all the concepts that help us move into a greater understanding and a greater connection to that which dwells within us and makes all things move. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Princeton. We are a loving, healing, and inclusive community which teaches and practices the principles of the science of mind for the well-being and spiritual growth of ourselves and the world. And all those words just mean that we're here to learn how to live from a deeper place within, from a deeper truth within. That's the only reason why we're here. And we do it with music. Reverend Rich Volk is our musician today. Our practitioner today is Deejah.
Yes.
And I'm Jon Heron. I'm a practitioner here at the center, and I will be giving the talk today. And I'm not thinking of it as a talk. It's going to be a very personal expression of my experience with this truth. So today I'm the speaker. Next week we have Lori Carlson, a practitioner from Morristown, who's spoken here before and is a really wonderful speaker and a very inspirational speaker. I've learned a lot by listening to her journey, her spiritual journey, and she shares from a very honest place. And so please join us. And if you're at home watching this, we are here on River Road in Princeton. Come on down and join us. We're also online at Facebook, as you know, if you're listening to this. So again, thank you very much for being here today. There's nothing better to do, I think, on a Sunday morning than to connect with Spirit, with God, whatever you like to call it, and be in the presence of others who are doing the same thing.
So John and I were talking before service, as we do, and we were talking about, the ultimate goal of what we do here. And I remember when I first found this teaching, it was 22 years ago, Reverend Frankie would say, it's not about the stuff, it's not about the money, it's not about the relationship, it's about the consciousness. And I would go, I want the stuff. I want the money. I want the relationship. But as time went on, and you do work into that stuff, we learn to become metaphysicians, and we're kind of like engineers. But then we become coders. We move from that place to that place, and we move into a place of real connection. And then I started to understand that, yes, Reverend Frankie is right. It's about the consciousness of the consciousness of prosperity, the consciousness of love, the consciousness of just being in the silence. So my friend Jack Fowler wrote this song quite a while ago, and I sing it here quite a bit, but it really is what we're doing here. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world that's full of chaos and noise. So I wait in this precious moment when I hear all that never has been said. And right here in this holy silence, I find God, I find myself. I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world that's full of chaos and noise. So I wait in this precious moment when I hear all that never has been said. And right here in this holy silence, I find God, I find myself. I find God, I find myself.
Thank you, Reverend Ridge. That was so beautiful, like a lullaby. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's great to be here. Today, I'm going to talk about your connection with the divine. I'm going to remind you of how powerful you are. I'm going to talk about decision-making and sort of redefining yourself. And really not talk about it, but read some things about it, and then I'll do a prayer for us all. In all of my work today is from Raymond Charles Barker. In this book of collected essays, he says, and I say this in the first person, but I'd like you to drink it in as if you're saying it to yourself. My present world, right here and right now, is saturated with a divine intelligence, a creative purpose, a responding life for that which created me. That which created me out of itself. Therefore, I am living that life that is the life of the universe. I am loving with that love that is the love of the universe. I am thinking with that mind that is the mind of the universe. I and my Father are one. He that seeth me, seeth him that sent me. These statements are true of myself because they're true of God. We're truly one with God. People come to me for prayer, and oftentimes I realize that once individuals have defined what they want me to pray for, that's half of the completed prayer right there, because the individual is making a decision. So in this wonderful book called The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker, he says, decision is the most important function of the individual mind. No creative process can begin until a decision is made. Having made the decision, every right idea will flow into your consciousness. Each idea will reveal itself at the instant that you need it. You are able to accomplish anything you really want to accomplish. And in determining what to decide about, no one else on this earth is better equipped to determine your good than you are. The universe has no favorites, and God knows no special person. now in his chapter about redefine yourself. The infinite mind is how he refers to God. So by whatever name that you know God, the infinite mind, being infinite, could not create a limited creation. He created you, right? He could not create a limited edition. You are the unlimited creation of an unlimited source, forever giving to you its unlimited ideas, possibilities, potentials. Its nature is to release itself in you as you. It cannot withhold its ideas. By its very nature, it must express itself through you. The infinite is a divine extravagance. It is forever giving itself away. God knows no thrift. The infinite does not need to be thrifty because it's an inexhaustible mind, an inexhaustible substance. It does not need to conserve, pinch, limit, or budget. It throws itself away, for it knows that only through expression can the abundant life be lived. Expression is release, and the infinite mind is forever throwing itself away, releasing itself. In order for it to have total self-expression, it has to be a total givingness. This is the divine magnificence. You are a part of the creative process of the infinite throwing itself away. You are the receiver of the infinite bounty. To you are given the total ideas of the universe. They are given to you in order that you too shall express them by throwing them into your subconscious with deliberate intent, and thus keeping your world fresh, new, and different. All of life wants you to live fully. All the love there is wants you to love fully. All the wisdom there is wants you to know yourself aright and fully use your creative capacities. You have everything going rightly on your side when you understand this science and use its principles. Now, I'd like you to get comfortable and go within. I'm going to read another small paragraph from Barker, and then I'll do a prayer for us all. Let's all take a collective deep breath and exhale. I say this in the first person so that you can receive it, if you like, as first person. The infinite is always imparting itself to me. It created me in order to give itself away by means of me. I am the divine recipient of all the ideas of life, truth, and love. I now accept these ideas from the bounty which has already been given to me. My subconscious mind rejoices in this new material with its creative directives. It creates new situations better than any that have gone before. These new situations are means by which I give myself to a better world and to a finer humanity. I am the receiving and distributing process of the divine mind. I know myself as this. I respect myself for this. I give praise and thanks that this is so, because it is so. And so I am knowing this truth for each one who's hearing these words. There is one infinite power, one divine source, one infinite love, one divine peace, and one abounding joy. It is all God. It all comes from the all good of God, the all good of God. And I know that each one listening is one with God and one with their highest good. I know that each one is out picturing in their individual lives this day exactly what they need in order to move forward in every area of their lives. I know that this outpicturing includes the divine qualities of the infinite spirit. And because each one is one with God, each one is heir to God's kingdom. Each one is drawing from that infinite well of the all good of God, calling into being that which each one needs to move forward in wonderful, wonderful ways. And because each one is thinking with the mind of God, each one is using an instrument of divine clarity, so each one is seeing correctly. And because each one is thinking with the mind of God, each one is able to make the best decisions for themselves, the best decisions followed by the best actions to elevate the individual's consciousness so that each one is constantly, effortlessly moving from good to greater good. And so divine decisions are being made beautifully, easily, with clarity, and the all good comes in behind each decision to empower each one to do what is theirs to do this day for their highest and greatest good. And this I know to be true because each one is one with God, and God is everything. God is all powerful, all knowing, and everywhere present. And so with great joy, I release this word into God's loving law, knowing that the law knows how to make it so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Reverend Rich.
I was trying to find a song that would line up with John's talk, and this one came up, and I heard this song at Agape 22 years ago, and the people who wrote it were there, Jan Garrett, and I just said, this song knocks me out, and I ran and I bought their CD, and I went home and I, tried to get it the way that they do it, but it's a great song. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, the green was easy, the rivers ran clear. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, peace spread over the land. And the flowers bloom in the desert, the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, the way was easy, the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. And the guardian stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, the sun was easy, the song was clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, peace spread over the land, and the guardian stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. And the ancient pain is forgotten, and the Father's debts are clear. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. And peace spread over the land. Peace spread over the land. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce and to bring up practitioner extraordinaire, Jon Heron. Yay, Jon.
What you focus on expands, right? If you've been studying this teaching, or if you're new to it, this is something that we say here. What you focus on expands. So I want to start this whole thing off with us doing an affirmation together. I expect to be blessed.
Ooh, I expect.
I expect to be blessed. Now imagine walking around in the world with that consciousness, right? Wherever you turn, you expect something really good to show up in your life. Because what you focus on expands. So for just a moment, go to that place inside, imagine yourself living your life, whatever your life looks like, and expecting in any moment for there to be a blessing. Okay, so let's together again. I expect to be blessed. Let's do it again. I expect to be blessed. Right. Thank you so much, Deejah, and Rich, who's out of the room now. That's exactly what I've been thinking about. So I'm preparing to teach this class on visioning that starts in the middle of September. I hope you all join the class. But it's got me thinking. Visioning is a way of connecting with the deeper places that live inside us. There are many ways of doing it, right? Many different religions in the world do it in different ways. Visioning is one way. We'll be looking at that. So I've been really thinking about how do we interact with those deeper places inside of ourselves, inside of the world, right? So I want to tell you a story. I'm going to talk a little, and it's a true story. It's about Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna lived 1836 to 1886. He was a Hindu sage, a very respected Hindu sage. His life story is interesting. Very different approach to spirit than what we know here in the science of mind. But the world is full of different approaches to connect with spirit. So Ramakrishna, an interesting person. He's from a very, very poor family, lived outside of Calcutta. He was an upper caste Hindu, a Brahmana. Now, the Brahmins were only allowed, you were not allowed to work if you were an upper caste Hindu, right? The only job he could do was to be a priest in a temple. Now, a priest in Hinduism, as it was classical Hinduism, isn't like a Catholic priest. They have no connection with people. They don't teach, they go to the temple and they do the ritualistic worship, right? If it's a temple of this god or that god, they learn that and they do that. Well, Ramakrishna got a job in a Kali temple in Calcutta. Now, Kali is one of the forms of the Divine Mother, a goddess. She's black. She has 8 arms, right? 4 of the arms have blessings. The other 4 have weapons. right? You seem to know a little bit about this, a little bit, right? So Ramakrishna was hired to be the priest in this temple, and his job was very simply to prepare the worship. It's very ritualized worship. Certain things need to be done at certain times, and there's fruit and flowers to be offered and different things. That was his job. So he would sit in front of this statue of Kali. We know because we've seen there, Hindus worship God in a lot of different ways. He got obsessed with this thought, am I just sitting in front of a statue that means nothing? Or is there a truth behind this? And it sort of took hold of him. Is there a truth? Because if there is a truth, I've got to know what it is. And so he started doing his meditation and his other spiritual practices and his prayers, and it sort of really took him over. He focused completely on it, and he had a vision of a spiritual presence that was the goddess, right? A direct experience of that truth that was behind this statue that he was offering flowers and things to, right? It was such an intense experience that, of course, what he wanted was more of that. And so his life became about connecting and communing with that truth that lived within him. And then he got the idea, well, wait a minute. If this truth lives, if this statue, this goddess that I sit before, is just an outer frame, but the real goddess is a truth that lives, does it only live here? Does it only live in this goddess? And India at that time, in the middle of the 19th century, the British Raj was going on. There were many religions being practiced. There were lots of Muslims, and this was sort of before the againstness that we saw later on between Hindus and Muslims. They simply lived together. Ramakrishna saw a lot of people who were practicing Islam. So he went to a Sufi teacher, and he said, will you teach me? He wanted to know, is the same truth present in that religion? And so he followed what he was taught by the Sufi master, and sure enough, he experienced the divine presence in that practice. And then he went to a teacher of Tantra. Tantra is sort of a parallel path with Vedanta in Hindu thought. Okay, so he went and practiced that and experienced the same truth within himself, within that practice. And he really got the point, not from here, I would say not even from here. It became part of who he was, that this divine truth lives in everything. Now, as it happens in Indian culture, people are, we did that affirmation, I expect to be blessed. It's very much a part of Indian culture. They expect to find spirituality around them. At least that was certainly at that time. So people started to see people who went to this temple to worship Kali at whatever level they did that worship. They began to see this little priest who was there every day doing the puja, the ritualistic worship, right? And they began to experience that when they were near him, they started to experience this presence. And so more people came. And gradually, a lot of people came. He wasn't doing anything other than living his life being in the presence of spirit as he knew it. People started coming. And he gathered around him a group of young men, many of whom who were university trained in the British universities, because they were having a crisis of identity at that time, whereas the British were telling them, no, you all have to be Christian, right? But then what does Hindu culture mean? Is there anything? And they were asking these questions, these university-trained young men. And here was a person who, when they went in his presence, they experienced something true. And it was in a temple of Kali. You know, how much more traditional to old truth Hinduism could you be? And they asked Ramakrishna to teach them. And he did. And they grew spiritually, not based necessarily on scriptures, on any school of philosophy or anything like that, based on a man who was so deeply focused on spiritual truth that he experienced it directly. And he could talk about it from that place, not from books. He wasn't an educated man. He simply talked from his experience. Now, Ramakrishna died in 1886, right? And there was this whole group of people whose lives had been transformed by being around him. So let me just take one step back. One thing that Ramakrishna taught based on that experience, that everywhere he looked, everywhere he focused, he found spirit. And he said, you know, we go to temples and we worship different forms of God and all this kind of stuff, when all around us, all the time, are the living symbols of God. You want to worship God? There's a hungry person, go feed him. There's somebody who needs to be taught. There are people who are having pains and things like that. Go heal them. And so after he died, his disciples, the group of young men who gathered around him, formed a monastic order, the Ramakrishna order. Right? I lived at a Ramakrishna order center for 11 years. I was very involved in this teaching. They went out and they did something that monks in India had never done. Because monks traditionally, when they started having their inner awakening, they would go away from society, away from people, right? They remain in meditation and stay in the jungles and right now. Well, the monks of the Ramakrishna order, they did the opposite things. They started hospitals, they started schools, they fed people, they healed people and all that kind of stuff, and left in India this big network of schools, hospitals, etc. Now you think this one little man who was uneducated and had no money and got a job and focused on this one thing, is there a spiritual truth behind this outer form? And look what came out of that. Changed the culture of India in many ways. He didn't try to do that. It simply was who he was, right? So what you focus on expands. What a great example. What you focus on expands. So let's go to some other thoughts there. It's a very interesting thing. Just yesterday, when I was sort of preparing everything for this talk, I got an email or something, and I was looking at it, and there was a quote from Martin Buber, who is a philosopher, a Jewish philosopher of the 20th century. And he said, I do not accept any absolute formulas for living. No preconceived code can see ahead to everything that can happen in a man's life. As we live, we grow, and our beliefs change. They must change. So I think we should live with this constant discovery. We should be open to this adventure in heightened awareness of living. We should stake our whole existence on our willingness to explore and experience. What a great statement. The same thing. We should be looking for, take out the word should, right? We can and will see whatever we call God, spirit, whatever you want to call that truth that lives in the universe and lives within us, all around us. We go back to that affirmation, I expect to be blessed. So here's another story, and this is sort of the practical side of this teaching. In India, there are some temples which are covered with carvings, very intricate carvings. They're erotic carvings. And in fact, if you look at them, they're sort of pornographic. They're very clear and very graphic, right? Now, think about this. If you go to a Catholic church here, the Catholic church is built in the form of a cross, right? The building is a symbol of the belief. And in the same way, these temples were built sort of as a symbol of the belief. People go to this temple, and there are all these carvings. And they spend their time looking on the outside of the temple at all these things, which, as I said, they're very clear and very graphic, right? Some of those people go there, they never go inside the temple, right? They get seduced by the busyness on the outside. It's an obvious analogy to our lives, right? What are we experiencing now in this, especially in this election season? What does the media tell us? You know, ooh, that person 10 years ago said that, and you need to care about that. Oh, but that woman, she said that. That's more important than that. And we are constantly seduced to listen to that. Where does it keep us? It keeps us outside the temple. Meanwhile, the worship is going on inside the temple. That hasn't changed. It's still a temple. So what a perfect architectural symbol for our lives. The outside keeps calling us, keeps seducing us, right? And some of us get so stuck on the outside that we never go inside the temple. And here we are. Our teaching is we are the living temple, right? The worship, the divine, is living in us. Not tomorrow, now, always. But we never go inside, some of us, right? Or even if we go inside, take the example of the temple. Yeah, I'm sure some of those people go into the temple because they went there for the worship, right? They go into the temple, but maybe in the back of their head, ooh, there's a side of it that I didn't get to see, and I think there's a carving there that I really want to see. So they come out again, right? It's exactly an analogy to me of what I experience my mind to be sometimes, which is really interesting preparing for this talk. So I knew several weeks ago that I was going to give a talk, and I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I decided to talk about this. Very honestly, I was a little frightened, because I have given talks before. I can stand up in front of a group of people and talk, but can I share something that's of value? Because I think that if I don't do that, I might as well not come, right? Because as I said in the beginning, there's no reason for us to be here other than to be with other people who care about a deeper truth in their lives. So I wanted to do that. So I was sort of stuck in, I don't know, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to talk about this? I wanted to be linked up with the study that I'm doing, getting ready for the class Envisioning, right? So we start thinking about that. So I started thinking about that. I didn't know what to do. So first, I was a total victim, right? I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to say. I can talk about stuff, but it's not going to be of any value to anyone. I don't, maybe I should call Susan and say, find somebody else, because I don't think I can do this. And then I thought, no, I'm not a victim. I know how to go there. And I started doing treatment and other spiritual practices to open myself up to the truth that I know lives in me, right? I've been doing this practice for a long time. I know this truth lives in me. And I know that when I'm thinking of myself as a victim, I know how to get out of that. Not easy, necessarily, but I know how to do it, and all I have to do is do it, right? All I have to do is go into the temple where the worship is going on. And then I'm with that environment, right? So I began to think about it, and I started to treat and all this kind of stuff, and I mentioned it to Susan, who's my prayer partner, and I have another prayer partner, and I mentioned it to her, and we started talking about it, and ideas started showing up, right? And what I did was I let those ideas show up. I really stepped back and recognized that, okay, this lives inside of me. And I'm here, each one of us is here because we are a unique expression of that one truth, right? And that uniqueness for each one of us is the most important thing, I think, of each of us. It is so important for us to be who we are, not who somebody else is, because that's why we're here, that's why we're living here. To be who we are, for spirit to experience itself in and as us. So I've been, this whole last 2 weeks, it's been a fun process, but it wasn't fun until I got to the end of the process. It wasn't fun while it was going on, right? While it was going on, I was sort of freaking out. I don't know what I'm going to say. I can talk for 5 minutes, but talking for a half hour or something like that is, and each day, I found another idea, and I went, ooh, that's a good idea. And then I started saying, okay, now's the time to start writing it down. And what else do I want to say? Oh, I can talk about Ramakrishna. That's something that nobody else here can probably talk about in any detail, but I spent years studying his life and the meaning of his teaching. That's something I can add, right? And that whole business, I know certain things about Hindu culture and all that stuff because I studied and lived it for many years. It's a perfect example, to me, of what we're talking about here. This truth lives in us and expresses as us, if we allow it to, right? So the practice then, great ideas. These are good ideas. Probably most of us have heard some version of these ideas. We watch PBS, we watch these different programs, or we read books or things like that. But when we start to practice, we start to experience it. So I'm now going to take you through a short practice that is from 365 Science of Mind, which is a book Ernest Holmes and his brother wrote, right? It's like one meditation or thought for a day. January 1st. This is what's on January 1st in 365 Science of Mind. And if you'd like to you can just relax now and listen to this in your own way. And I suggest, let come up in your mind something in your life that's a problem, that you perceive as a problem right now. Okay? Just get something, doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be small. Just let yourself be with that consciousness. And listen to this as if your heart is saying it. I believe that God already knows the answer to this particular problem. Therefore, I'm letting go of the problem, and I'm listening to the answer as though it were sure. The answer to this problem exists in the mind of God and is revealed to my mind now. Something in me does know what to do. I joyfully accept its guidance. I am open to new ideas, new hopes, and new aspirations. This which so recently seemed a problem no longer exists. For the mind of God, which knows the answer, is quietly flowing through my thought and feeling. Great peace and joy come over me as I accept this answer from the giver of all life. And let's go back to where we started. I expect to be blessed. And I hope that you take that statement with you into your life. I expect to be blessed. Thank you.
Fabulous. Now comes the part of our service where we exercise the law of circulation. The law of giving and receiving. Everything in nature moves in circles. What goes out must come back. Unless the seed is sown, it cannot bear fruit. There must be a planting time for every harvest. Those who give all receive all. Those who refuse to give limit the possibility of the greater good returning to them. Love and you will be loved. Extend joy and you will become more joyful. Today we say, I will make a commitment to keep wealth circulating in our lives by giving and receiving life's most precious gifts, the gifts of caring, affection, appreciation, and love. Every time I meet someone, I will silently wish them happiness, joy, laughter, and love. And for those of you who are online, you can go to our website, cslprinceton.org, and you will see instructions on how to give through PayPal on our website. And thank you.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. It's wonderful, this wonderful, this wonderful day. This wonderful, this wonderful, this wonderful day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My loving, my supportive, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this day. Me?
Yes, could you?
I will.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you for a wonderful, wonderful talk.
Yeah.
And I never knew the whole story of your 11 years. And very interesting. So this is our closing treatment. So knowing that there is one loving, all-powerful, all-encompassing power, presence that we are one with, that there is no place where it is not. There is no place where we end and it begins, or it ends and we begin. We are all one with it. Every molecule, every thought, every part of it is encompassed in it. So I declare that this celebration of the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton is a good thing. It is a done thing. That all of the concepts that were presented are taken in the most efficacious way. That all the thoughts that were had, all the words that were said, were exactly what needed to be said and thought. So I give thanks to the indwelling Spirit which moves us, which gives us motivation, which gives us all. I give thanks to that. And I release this treatment, and I release all that occurred this morning into law, knowing that it is already returned, done, complete. And so it is.
Yes. So it is.
So it is.